interesting. It is getting more and more challenging to deal with a lot of the technology issues that comes with self-producing a show. I do miss my awesome producers sometimes, especially on these late night shows. But I think we will see. If you can see me, say hi. If you can't see me, well, then you're not going to say hi. So hello and welcome to this is I guess technically this is episode 2 of of what we now renamed the Liberty Daily After Dark. This is where I go live, and every night, just for historical reference, every night, starting at 5 p.m. Pacific time, I take over thelibertydaily.com. That's Monday through Friday, and then on Saturday and Sunday, I control it the entire day. For those who aren't familiar, thelibertydaily.com is a news aggregator very similar to, it actually looks in many ways almost identical to the Drudge Report. There we go. Wrong. But see, I need a producer. That's why we need to raise revenue. But yeah, it looks very similar to Drudge Report. The difference is, of course, the content is extremely different from Drudge. Drudge is a content joke, whereas it's radical leftist, full blown Bernie bro stuff now. After what I believe was the fakery, pretending to be conservative, even though they were not, or at least he wasn't. Matt Drudge himself, but that's a story for another day. Maybe we'll cover that. We'll discuss that someday. I think it's an important topic to discuss. What my theory is as to what happened, what went quote unquote crazy. I think most people believe that he either sold the site or he got blackmailed or whatever. I think he's still there. I think that this is the real Matt Drudge, and that for a couple of decades he was pretending to be conservative because that behooved him. He found his niche, and so he hired some actual conservatives to work with him, and he pretended. And then after Trump got elected, he realized, oh my gosh, I'm living a lie. I've got plenty of money. Let's let out my true colors. And I think that's my theory. But who cares? We're dealing with the libertydaily.com. So for the second night in a row, and Lord willing, we'll be able to do this every night. I will be going over the Liberty Daily. Not, I shouldn't say going over. I'm going to be editing the Liberty Daily. This is what I do at night, so might as well do it on the air. You guys get to see it as it's happening. We'll do it live, and you'll get to see the thought process. You'll get to see the stories as they're popping up, basically. I'll pull up the stories that we're considering. We'll go through them together, and we'll decide: does this go? Does this go on the front page of the libertydaily.com? This is a site that gets anywhere over 10 million visitors a month. And so the traffic, it's not Drudge like traffic. Drudge in its heyday was getting over 100 million. But it is good traffic. And so we're able to drive a conservative viewership to the stories that we believe are important at any given moment. And obviously, right now, it's pretty easy because there is one primary topic that everybody's talking about, and that of course, is next week's election. I guess we're in the middle of the election. You got some states are already over 50%. That blows me away. It absolutely blows me away that we're over 50% votes already cast in certain states, including one swing state in particular, which we will be covering. But we post videos to the Liberty Daily. We post articles. I pull from, and it's not a feed. Everything's done manually. So we go through each individual story and we decide: do we put this on the front page? Do we put this on the front page? Does it go up in the top section where there's really good traffic? Does it go in the quote unquote headline section where we have the big headlines, big images, and that gets the most traffic? Do we put it down in the three columns where it still gets good traffic? And actually, sometimes it's funny. I can always tell when I missed on a story. When I thought, oh, you know what, this is a pretty good story. Let's put it down in column 2, and then it gets like 10,000 clicks, and it's like, oh wow, I should have put that one up top. That one was obviously more popular or more important than I had realized, because it is the readers that really determine what is popular and what is not. And over the last several years that I've been working at the Liberty Daily, it has been very enlightening. I get to learn about the zeitgeist, so to speak. I really understand, based upon the stories that people want to read, the videos that they want to watch. I get an amazing bird's eye view. The data is incredible because this is what works. you know, our audience is a staunchly conservative audience. I would say a majority of in the audience, the readers of the Liberty Daily are Christians. They're not all, and we do get, I would say vast majority are MAGA, at least to some extent. We do get some. Well, there's still a lot of conservatives out there that are just still adamantly opposed to Donald Trump. I think that maybe this election year we're not hearing very much from them because the alternative to Donald Trump is Kamala Harris and Liz Cheney and her neocon globalist clan. So you don't hear a whole lot of people like, well, we should probably oppose Trump, and some were like, man, I don't like Trump, but dang it, Kamala's awful, and she really is. She might not. I would say she's almost certainly the worst candidate in our lifetimes. I mean, she's terrible. When I'm not talking, there's been some really bad candidates over the years that were running for the nomination. But as far as somebody who actually won the nomination, oh wait, she didn't win the nomination. She actually was just handed the nomination. So maybe that's why Diversity Hire Harris is so awful at this stuff. So let's start before we get into the stories. And then obviously, if you're watching on the screen, you'll see the big story. Joe Biden. And the real story here isn't just that he said that Trump supporters are garbage. The real story is that he stole the thunder, whatever thunder there really was, from Kamala Harris's quote unquote closing argument. This is supposed to be her big moment, her big her version, I guess you could say, of the Madison Square Garden Trump rally, and nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about it. They're talking about Joe Biden saying that half the country, more than half the country, in my humble opinion, that we are garbage. Of course, he was referencing the quote from I forgot his last name. I posted a tweet about it, referencing the comedian at the Madison Square Garden rally that he did his thing, and it was just, it is what it is. But as I posted over at on Twitter, or X, if you will, here's the truth: the same people who connected Trump to comedian Tony Hinchcliffe, that's his name, who Trump doesn't even know, will now say that Joe Biden does not speak for Kamala Harris, even though he's her boss. You really can't make this stuff up. It is a sad testament. So Joe Biden comes out, says people are garbage, Trump supporters are garbage, and that's important. But perhaps more importantly, he did steal the thunder from good old Kamala. So let's start off. First, let me double check, make sure we are live. That'd be funny if we weren't even live. All right, great. We are live. I see some people coming in. That's good. And be sure to give it a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. Nobody watches me on YouTube. But if you're watching on Rumble or X or Getter or BitChute or any of the many various places where this is currently broadcasting, be sure to give us that thumbs up, because it is definitely important. Speaking of thumbs up, I'll give my thumbs up to my good friend Matthew Burke, the owner of the Liberty Daily. He doesn't even realize he's making an appearance, but he is making an appearance. He sometimes sends me stories. He's retired. Okay, he's retired. He gave the reins to the site over to me a couple years ago, and now he has sent me a story. Let's go ahead and start with that one. I was going to start with a video, but let's start with what Matthew is going to send. And to be clear, all the stuff that we're posting, this for me, I went through. So last night I made the mistake. That was the first time we'd ever done this live editing of the Liberty Daily on a broadcast, and I made the mistake of not picking out the stories that I wanted to consider ahead of time. I went through and it's like, well, I'm going through my feed, and I read through anywhere from 1,500 to 2,500 headlines per day, and so I'm going through the feed and I'm like, this story, we already covered that one. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is making for a terrible video. People are actually like, I'm trying to narrate why I'm not picking, because we don't pick, out of 2,500 headlines, We'll pick anywhere from 100 to 150, sometimes as many as 200 max. Depends upon what the news of the day is. We don't have a set amount. We just go with the flow, right? So you're only seeing anywhere from 8, 5, 8, 10% of the headlines that we actually do go through, and that's not even including the videos that we watch. So I should have, and what we're doing tonight is I've already pre-selected the ones that we're going to consider, and then we're going to go through them. So all I've seen so far is the source and the headline. I don't know what the stories are about. So I'm viewing it live as you guys are viewing it live. And this one that Matthew just sent me, after a colossal exodus of subscribers, Wapo boss Bezos explains the hard truth about not endorsing Kamala. And it's funny because he sent this to me. We actually did cover this yesterday. And so this is one that I'm not going to, I'll put it up as an in case you missed it. That's what we'll do. So let's go ahead and grab that one. I'll pop it over. ICYMI. It's in case you missed it. And then we'll put in the headline. And I'll change the headline a bit. Wapo boss Bezos explains the hard truth about not endorsing Kamala. We don't actually call her Kamala Harris. Sometimes we call her Kamala Harris, as President Trump does. Sometimes we call her Kamala Chameleon, Comrade Kamala, Comrade Harris, Diversity Hire Harris, Heels Up Harris, Chlamydia Harris. That's the one I didn't make up, but that's one Matthew made up. It works sometimes, especially when we're talking about certain topics. But we always like to use nicknames with these people, and Kamala is not one of them, or Kamala's one of them that we use the nickname for. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that up there. I'm not going to read the story because chances are you guys have already seen. You're aware that he wrote an op-ed, and he's going to be adding conservative writers allegedly. He's not very happy with Kamala. He's not very happy with the political process in general. Wrote up a nice little op-ed. Wasn't nice, but it is what it is. So let's get that one thrown up there. And that's from vigilantnews.com. My good friend Kevin over there does a fantastic job. All right, so now let's get into the very first video. Actually, let's get in the first video. We'll just start off with the big story of the day. Joe Biden, or as we like to call him, Trader Joe, calling Trump supporters garbage. Here we go. Oops. I need a producer. Wrong button. Here we go.
Or Puerto Rico, where I'm in my home state of Delaware, they're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization of seen as unconscionable, and it's un-American.
Then it cuts the clip of poor Anderson Cooper. He probably doesn't know what to say. I don't know what he said. I don't watch those fools. But let's see what they said over at Red State in response to this, and more importantly, what both Donald Trump and what J.D. Vance said. So let's skip past the initial part. We'll reread what he... No, we're not going to reread that. You saw that part. Here's what J.D. Vance said. This is disgusting. Kamala Harris and her boss, Joe Biden, are attacking half the country. There is no excuse for this. I hope Americans reject it. And actually, I hope that they embrace it, because really this is a driving force for us. This is something we had the deplorables moment, right? Back in 2016, Hillary Clinton deplorables. Well, now we have the garbage moment, and it was supposed to be. So you want to see the desperation of the Kamala Harris campaign? It was supposed to be the moment where Trump gets associated for having a comedian at an event, that comedian that doesn't actually know. And he said that Puerto Rico is a pile of garbage. Oh my gosh, Trump's a Nazi, obviously, if this guy that he doesn't know was at an event that he didn't even know. He still doesn't even know. To be clear, Trump still doesn't know who even had Tony on at the event. And he doesn't care because it's not that big of a deal. But the desperation of Kamala's campaign is so apparent because everybody, corporate media, is like, oh my gosh, I am beside myself thinking about how amazingly awful this is, for this comedian to have said this at an event that Trump was at. But those same people, again, as I noted in my tweet earlier, those exact same people that are going after him for that are going to say, well, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are very different people. Kamala has no association with Joe Biden, even though obviously he's her boss. They've been working together for over 4 years now. Whereas there's no association between them. So him, Joe Biden, saying half of America is garbage, that they don't want to attach that to Kamala, but they are all about making sure that this comedian that Trump doesn't know, he obviously speaks for Donald Trump's heart. I don't even know how to respond to that. I don't know what it all means. You tell me. What does it mean? So Trump actually responded by saying, see, I don't think it's even in here. Trump had a great response, and that we'll get to that here in a second. Well, let's go ahead and hop into the next video briefly before I get stuck on the story, because I could talk about this one all day. And the idea is that we're trying to edit the site. I'm going to throw up the stories, and we'll take it from there. So let's get to this next video. This is concerning, and we actually posted this earlier over at thelibertydaily.com. 77,000 ballots. For whatever reason, they call it a misprint, of course, and it's in a swing state, of course. But 77,000 ballots misprinted, and they're technically, I guess they're sort of going to be counted, but we'll see. I mean, it's a little questioning there. Watch.
A vote by mail ballot error has some Nevada County residents concerned. County elections realized something was wrong on Monday. Their machines weren't properly reading all the ballots. They called the Secretary of State and their printing service and diagnosed the issue as an ink overspray on some of the barcodes.
Some of our ballots, if you look really closely and you use a magnifying glass, you will see that there is imperfections in the barcodes.
I want to show you what these ballots look like. If you take a look here, we're covering some private information, but the one on the left has already been processed. The problem is with these barcodes, and the one on the right needs to be rescanned. But as you can see, they look very similar.
We will go ahead and use a report to see, okay, which pages did not go through. We'll pull those out, and we mark them as to be rescanned. So we have a different bin, we have a different colored piece of paper that sort of makes it really clear.
Election officials say the printer error will not affect the accuracy, but it will slow down their operations. They'll be working around the clock to certify the election results on time.
I trust the process.
And for those who are more skeptical, anyone is allowed to observe the process in person or online through a live stream. Look, there's me in the counting room waving. I reached out to Runbeck Election Services, who supply the ballots, and they said in a statement in part, we are coordinating directly with the Nevada County Elections Office and the Secretary of State to ensure that all affected ballots can be properly reviewed and counted. While this issue is rare, it can happen due to the required use of inkjet technology for the printing of such a large quantity of ballots.
We care very much about getting it right. Not just because it's a presidential election, but we care about every election and making sure that the process is accurate, that it's transparent.
Did you ever notice that these oddities during these elections, they always seem to happen in swing states? Nevada is an extremely important state for both candidates, one that is still up in the air. Most recent polls have Trump leading there, but barely, within the margin of error. Why is it that these strange things only happen in Arizona, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, North Carolina, Nevada? Why don't they ever happen, I don't know, in Texas? Why don't they ever happen in wherever, Colorado? Oh, wait, Colorado's actually, they're saying Colorado might be in play now. So now I suspect that we will see some craziness there. We'll see. All right, let's go. Let's get to our first story that we're going to, well, technically second story that we're going to consider. This one comes from Zero Hedge, actually through the Libertarian Institute. U.S. approves weapon sales to Riyadh despite unprecedented Iran-Saudi drills. And that's important to note, that these drills are unprecedented. These are enemies, at least they used to be. Now, all of a sudden, last week, Saudi Arabia conducted unprecedented drills with its rival. They say rival. They've been at each other for a long, long time. Iran in the Sea of Oman, in a sign of warming relations between the regional powers. Following the announcement, Washington approved a massive arms sale to the Gulf Kingdom. On Thursday, the U.S. announced it had approved the sale of 1,000 tube-launched, optical-tracked Wire-guided, the TOW, missiles to Saudi Arabia. Raytheon will be the contractor for the $440 million deal. That is an important story. So we are going to publish this one over at the Liberty Daily. I'm going to put it in column 1. We're going to change the capitalization, put it over in column 1, and make it live. And that's what we do, you know. And then you might say, well, you didn't read the entire article. This is already enough. This is news, okay? And I trust Zero Hedge. Zero Hedge, they're not a perfect publication, but they do a good enough job of delivering proper analyses of the stories that make that really need to be discussed. And they do it in a way that I think is the best way to put it. They're not necessarily partisan per se, but they do have a certain panache about them that is worthwhile. Next story from lifenews.com. Satanic Temple opens a second abortion business to kill more babies. And this is one that normally I wouldn't even have to read it, but we're going to read it. We're going to read at least part of it because you're here with me. Earlier this month, the Satanic Temple announced the opening of what it calls the world's second satanic abortion clinic. The term clinic is certainly a stretch, says Ann Reed, a senior policy advisor for Operation Rescue. The Right to Your Life Satanic Abortion Clinic, Right to Your Life, my gosh, these people are evil, is a landing page, not a building, where Virginia residents will be directed to TST Health, the Satanic Temple's virtual Black Alley pill mill. TST opened its first satanic abortion clinic last year in New Mexico, also just a landing page that redirects to the TST Health. At that time, TST also announced hopes to expand operations into other states, including those that do not allow clinicians to perform abortions. Working under the guise of a religious ritual and religious abortion care, TST aims to somehow establish these virtual clinics in states that are abortion-free, leaning on religious freedom to get around protections for the preborn. Accordingly, only those interested in performing TST's abortion rituals are eligible for medication abortion through TST. Agreeing to do the ritual is how one avoids paying extra costs beyond the $90 prescription for the abortion pill. I want you to stop and think about that for a second. Okay? So, obviously, abortion itself, at least to me, as a pro-life purist, you know, abortion itself is an evil act. But the Satanic Temple is actually demanding and even offering incentives for people to perform a ritual, a satanic ritual, in order to quote unquote qualify for their baby murder program. Ending abortion has always been a spiritual battle, says Troy Newman, president of Operation Rescue. If America needs a reminder of that, look no further than these Satanists strategizing to kill unborn children in states where those children are most protected, and drawing women into a narcissistic spiritual ritual that glorifies the choosing of her life at the cost of someone else's, her own child. The first words women are instructed to chant in the satanic abortion ritual are, and I'm not going to read it. You're gonna have to go to the Liberty Daily and get that story, because I am not going to even read aloud the evil words that they demand these women recite. I'm gonna get that one published. Our fight right now, our fight against the evils of this world, it goes beyond the election. The election is important. Don't get me wrong, okay? And for the next week, I will be happy to focus 80-90% of my efforts trying to get us over the finish line, trying to help Donald Trump win, trying to help Republicans retain control of the House, gain control of the Senate, gain governorships, gains control of state legislatures, city councils, sheriff's office, district attorney's office. These are all very important. I don't want to downplay just how massively important this election, the election of our lifetime, how massively important this election is up and down the ballot. But we are seeing evil rising around us. And unfortunately, because all the air is getting sucked out of the newsrooms with the elections themselves, we're missing a lot of this stuff. So on one hand, I want to make sure that we are, like I said, we're a week away, allegedly. Probably going to take longer than a week, but allegedly we're a week away from Election Day. So yeah, I get it. I'm going to focus on that, but I don't want to lose focus when there is pure evil out there, such as what's happening with the Satanic Temple, such as what's happening with abortion. And it's not, I mean, we've got the border crisis, we got the economic crisis that is still rising, and people say, oh, don't worry, the economic crisis will end as soon as Trump's in office. That's not how it works, folks. Okay, there will be certain indicators, certain aspects of the economy that will, I mean, as soon as Trump is officially elected, things are going to start getting better. But there are other things that are going to take time. And while those things are getting fixed, more damage is being done. And it's not just with the border. It's not just with the economy. It's not just with foreign relations. It's not just with there seems to be, 4 wars? At least the potential 4 wars. Two wars that are hot. A third one that's semi-hot. Another one that's brewing. And we could get involved with any of them at any moment, unfortunately. So yeah, there's plenty to worry about. There's plenty of work to be done. This show is going to be getting a facelift, so to speak, after the election. It's really just going to depend. I was explaining to, who was I talking to today? Alex Newman. For those of you who don't know the great and wonderful and brilliant Alex Newman, number 1, I would look him up. Number 2, follow him. Number 3, tell him I said hi. We were talking today about plans for not just this show, but other things that I'm working on. And it's going to be, the direction that we go will be determined by the election. If Trump wins, then we have a whole lot of work to do in a certain direction. If they steal the election, as they are apparently trying to do, and they're able to install Kamala Harris into the Oval Office, then that changes our direction as well. We will either be fighting the good fight to try to get the right policies into place to fight the cultural battle, the cultural war that's raging, more of a focus on the faithful components, because that's really where my heart is. Okay, politics, culture, everything else, that's all a distraction. It's a necessary distraction, obviously. But then, if I had my druthers, I would rather just be I'd rather just be in like a cabin in Montana with my family, just reading my Bible all day and praying and fishing, and that'd be great. But we have work to do, and so that's why I'm stuck here in California, amongst other reasons. And I will be stuck here for however long is necessary. I don't want to be here, but I need to be here. But yeah, the direction will definitely change depending upon what happens with the election, one way or the other. We're going to see changes. It's not just this show; it's in pretty much everything that I'm doing. We're going to fight the good fight, or we're going to fight as the resistance, one way or the other. Okay, and that's not to say there's not crossover. Obviously, there's crossover, but my focus will be on whatever direction we need to go in order to help this nation, to advance the gospel, to empower people with knowledge, with information that they could possibly use as ammunition to also help in advancing these goals. So yeah, as much as I would love to just talk about the election, there are still other things to talk about, such as what's happening with this Satanic Temple. Let's take a short break, and when we get back, we'll talk about, we got the Daniel Penny case. We've got the good news out of the Sunbelt swing states. We got buses of non-English speaking citizens fast-tracking ahead of Americans waiting in line for hours to vote early. That wasn't on my bingo card. Probably should have been. Should have been aware that was going to happen. It's hard to keep track sometimes because, man, I mean, they're good. They've got a plan to do whatever they need to do to try to steal this election, and we've got to do everything we can to stop it. So, short break. Be right back.
I'm Jonathan Rose, CEO of Genesis Gold Group, As Americans, we work hard every day to provide for our families and ensure their future. But with the uncertainty facing our economy, it is more important than ever to safeguard your wealth and protect your retirement savings. Educated investors look to safe haven assets to shield themselves from the economic storm. Tangible assets like gold and silver can provide stability, security, and most importantly, peace of mind. In 1997, the Taxpayer Relief Act allowed Americans to hold physical precious metals like gold and silver in their IRAs for the first time. Today, Genesis Gold Group helps our clients transfer existing IRAs, 401ks, and other retirement accounts into physical gold and silver, tax and penalty free. With thousands of satisfied clients, 5-star reviews, and fully accredited with the Better Business Bureau, our experienced team is here to help you navigate the process, start to finish. Now is the time to educate yourself on the importance of a diversified portfolio, including tangible assets like gold and silver. Call now to receive our free wealth protection kit and digital dollar defense guide. Call now and we'll include our extremely popular Silver Prepper Bar free when you open your account. Add it to your IRA or have it sent to your home. Call Genesis Gold Group today at 800-200-GOLD. Prepper Bar only available through Genesis Gold Group.
Those prepper bars really are very cool. Very cool. I have one in my wallet, as a matter of fact. A silver one, not a gold one. Can't afford the gold ones yet. All right, let's get to the Daniel Penny case. This article comes from WorldNet Daily, WND.com, from Victor Jokes. In Daniel Penny case, New York City has put Batman on trial. Batman is a hero for stopping the criminals threatening the people of Gotham City. Daniel Penny is on trial for stopping a criminal threatening the people of New York City. It doesn't get much more backward than this. On Monday, jury selection began in Penny's trial. Prosecutors have charged him with second-degree manslaughter and criminal negligent homicide in the death of Jordan Neely. Jordan Neely is, of course, was a deranged criminal who was threatening people. And Daniel Penny stepped in, subdued him, and as a result of that, Jordan Neely died. It was not, it's crystal clear from the video that Daniel Penny was not trying to kill him. He was trying to subdue him in a way that is common, okay? When you do those types of holds that those arm bars like that, the intention is to cut off the flow of blood to the brain, and that will knock a person out very, very quickly. But it got out of hand, and Jordan Neely died. And now Daniel Penny, who should be revered as a hero, is being put on trial. Back to the article. In May 2023, Penny encountered Neely on a New York City subway. Neely was acting erratically and threatening passengers. Witnesses have testified that Neely said, "Someone is going to die today." That was no idle threat. Philemon Castillo Baltazar said Neely punched him in the face while he waited on a New York subway platform in 2019. 2 years later, police arrested Neely for smacking a 67-year-old woman in the face. Court documents say he broke her nose and orbital bone. So it's not like, oh, slap. No. I mean, he smacked the crap out of her. She also had substantial head pain. In all, Neely had more than 40 arrests. 40! Including an active warrant for the 2021 assault. Put yourself in their shoes. You're trapped on a subway car, a metal box, with a madman who's threatening to murder someone. According to a grand jury testimony, one subway rider believed he or she was going to die based on Neely's behavior. A mother hid herself and her son behind a stroller. Passengers called 911. There's nowhere to run. There's no place to hide. Most people can't fight back successfully. This is when you wish superheroes were real. You need Batman to sweep in and save the day. That's what Penny did. Sans the cape. Risking his own life, the former Marine put Neely into a submission hold. Two other passengers helped Penny restrain Neely as he continued to resist. After Neely went limp, Penny helped put him in the recovery position. Sadly, Neely passed away. The NYC medical examiner said he died from the compression of his neck. Neely also had K2, a synthetic cannabinoid, in his system. It can cause violent outbursts and lead to seizures and death. This incident wouldn't have been national news except for two things. One, a passenger recorded some of it. Two, Neely was black while Penny is white. Leftists quickly demanded that Penny be charged. Jordan Neely was murdered, according to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She called it disgusting that the murderer gets protected with passive headlines plus no charges. That's right, police didn't immediately arrest Penny. That makes sense because he clearly acted in self-defense. But the left kept ramping up the pressure. And that's the part that disturbs me the most. It's not so much even the prosecutors. Generally speaking, prosecutors in these district attorneys, these Soros-backed people, they are generally speaking, they get the lion's share of my ire when in situations like this. But in this case, it wasn't because of what happened. It wasn't necessarily just because it was a white man versus a black man. It was because of the pressure from the radical left, including people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, calling it murder when it was clearly, unambiguously, you have to be stupid to think that Penny was in the wrong in any way. He was engaged in self-defense. He was helping people out, and any real man in that exact situation would have done exactly what he did, and they should have. You can't sit there. I mean, basically, what people like AOC, what morons like AOC want you to do is to die or let other people die. That's it. That's the only way that you can avoid their rage, because it's all about skin color to them. It's all about being intersectional or whatever. Because here's the thing. With 100% certainty, if it had been a black man subduing an erratic white criminal who was making death threats to people on the subway, AOC wouldn't say a thing. The only thing she might say is that he was a hero. They make it about race 100% of the time. And yes, that should piss you off. So this story, this is the process that I go through, folks. This story goes right up at the top because this is an important story. We need to see this stuff. People need to be aware that even though we're in the midst of an election, even though we're in the midst of the election of our lifetimes, as they say, that there are still other stories that need focus. So we're definitely putting that one up there. Good job to WND. And again, I'm reading these for the first time. Generally speaking, when I do my day show during the day, which we're close, by the way, to locking down a set time. We're almost there. I've got 2 more tests to do, and then we will determine when the set time is. Monday through Friday, every day I will do my morning show, and that will be an hour and a half, and it will be awesome. But, when I do that show, I have all the stories. I've already read through them. I've handpicked the ones that I want to cover, and I usually go into more detail. The night show, today, the show that you're watching right now, I'm taking stories that we're going to consider putting on the Liberty Daily, and I'm going to go through them with you and then determine, does this go up top? Is this a headline? Is it column 1, column 2, column 3, or do we pass? Sometimes we'll just pass. I picked out some headlines based upon sources that I like that should be good stories that people need to read. And some of them will surprise me and I'll be like, I'm going to pass on that one. Others will surprise me and be like, wow, I wasn't expecting that story to be so moving, so touching, so important. And in this case, I was not expecting a Daniel Penny story to be a top story, but that's what just happened. So good on you, Victor Jokes, or whatever your name is. Now, this one's interesting. I hope it's interesting because it's news to me. This comes from 100% Fed Up. My good friend Noah over there does a fantastic job of finding stories that we don't always know. Now, Noah is what you would call a fringe journalist. Just like me, I'm a fringe journalist. But Noah, too, is a fringe journalist. Sometimes his stories might be a little bit edgy. Okay. Sometimes he's on the cutting edge. Other times he's on the bleeding edge. And sometimes he goes over the edge. But we'll see. So it's hit or miss at 100%fedup.com. But usually it's a lot more hits than misses. According to this, President Trump shares something about his shooters and the FBI that nobody else has noticed. That obviously caught my attention because I hadn't heard about this. So let's see what he's talking about here. Lance Wallnew, I hope I pronounced that right, posted a video recently where he picked up on something President Trump said that doesn't seem to be getting any attention. Have you ever noticed how good President Trump is at doing that? He is. He's got an uncanny ability of noticing things that I would say nobody else does. Very, very, very few people do, and definitely nobody of the caliber, the fame, or the renown as President Trump. He's just catches on things, and it's like, hey, did you ever notice this? Sort of like Seinfeld, except a lot smarter, and not Jewish. I guess technically, I mean, the Jews loved Trump, so maybe his daughter converted, his son. Well, okay, anyway. Back to the article. He'll just casually mention something off the cuff, and if you're not listening carefully, it will go right past you. But if you're listening with a critical ear, you'll stop and say, what did he just say? Did I hear that right? And that's exactly what Lance Wallnew just did, and I want to share it with you. Watch here. And I have not watched this one. Unfortunately, I can't play it, so hopefully he talks about it. I can't play it because we are PG-13. I guess PG. We're family friendly. We don't allow cursing, and I haven't vetted this out yet, so I can't. Now, we allow cursing, by the way, on the Liberty Daily. It's just the show doesn't allow cursing. So after the show, I'll watch this one and see if we publish that video as well. So it's really twofold. So hopefully they'll tell us what it's about, or else I'm embarrassingly leaving you all in the dark. So it's really twofold. First, he mentions that the Mar-a-Lago shooter had multiple phones. 6 phones. 6 phones? I didn't know that. Are you kidding me? Who has 6 phones? I know some people with 2 phones, a work phone and a personal phone, or maybe you want 2 phones on 2 different networks if you're really important and can't have any downtime. But 6? 6 different phones? Really? Then you have the Butler, PA shooter who was 19 or 20 years old, and he's also got multiple cell phones and overseas bank accounts. Are you kidding me? With this nonsense, that is true. Then you have the second part, which is what I hadn't heard anyone else discussing until right now, and that is that the FBI was perfectly able, either on their own or with the glad help of Apple and Android, to hack into every single phone of the J6 Patriots. But what about the 2 men who tried to assassinate our president? Allegedly, no, the FBI can't seem to figure those phones out. They're stumped. Anyone else calling BS on this? Hey, FBI, maybe check the CIA Verizon statement. Maybe it will be right on there. Does the AT&T bill for these guys go right to the 7th floor of the CIA asking for a friend? So it's not a bombshell by any means, but that's a good point. They were able to hack into pretty much every phone that they wanted to of all the J6 political prisoners. They seem to be able to hack into anybody's phone, but for some strange reason, my gosh, they can't hack into the Trump assassins' phones. Yeah, let's go ahead and publish. We'll put this one up there. I'm going to put this one over in. We'll put this in column 3, which is the lowest column, because again, it's not exactly a bombshell. But what we are going to do is we're going to highlight it in red, because it is, and when I do that, the idea here is that this is further down than most people will get to, especially if you're on mobile. Column 3, you have to scroll, okay? But we'll leave it as sort of like an Easter egg for those news hounds out there that love to get their crazy stories, and I think that this one definitely qualifies, so get that one published. All right, next up I'm going to skip this one because we're actually going to republish this one over on my side. This is from Michael Snyder over at End of the American Dream. Can we already put several of the Sun Belt swing states in Trump's column? I already imagine what the story's about, but we will get to it here in a bit. First, let's go to InfoWars. It's an article by Jamie White, great InfoWars writer. Shock video. Buses of non-English speaking citizens fast-tracked ahead of Americans waiting in line for hours to vote early. Imagine that. Shocking video. Out of Pennsylvania purports to show buses of non-English speaking quote-unquote citizens skipping the queue of Americans who have been waiting in line for hours to cast their early votes. The video shows throngs of non-English speaking individuals wearing Harris Waltz stickers, imagine that, and Vote Today PA hoodies being guided by translators past the long lines of American voters in Bethel Park. A witness said they had these people, they had about 12 of them walked in who were all foreigners, and then they looked them up to these younger people, help them fill out. They say Vote Today PA, and somehow they beat a to our line. I'm not going to play that because, again, I haven't vetted it out, but we will read parts of it. And then they walked up, and the one lady, they were even asking her, they were like, we don't have you in the system. Your name's not right. And they're like, oh, we'll take it back and change it. How do you change your damn name? It's a good question. Vote Today PA is a vote mobilization organization paid for by the progressive advocacy group Working Families Power. They always have weird names, by the way. Did you ever notice that? Which pushes leftist causes like economic fairness, racial justice, gender equity, and climate sustainability. Sounds special. This comes amid a slew of videos out of Pennsylvania appearing to show Bucks County Emergency Services and police shutting down lines at polling places in Doylestown and Quakertown hours before the polls close at 5 p.m. And yes, we did cover that over the Liberty Daily. If you're unfamiliar with that, then wow. Today was the last day to apply for your mail-in ballot, according to Governor Josh Shapiro. So crazy stuff happening. And stop me if you heard this one before. Oddly, all of this stuff seems to be happening only in the all-important swing states. You don't see this kind of stuff happening in Utah. You don't see this kind of stuff happening in Massachusetts. It's just happening in places like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. Very crazy stuff. We need some happy. I'm gonna play some shocking news. It's actually not news because it's from the Babylon Bee, which is satire. But if it were news, it'd be shocking news, and hopefully it'll get you a chuckle. Here is Seth Dillon from the Babylon Bee endorsing Kamala Harris.
Hi, I'm Seth Dillon, CEO of the Babylon Bee. While other fake news organizations like the Washington Post and the LA Times refuse to save democracy, we here at the Babylon Bee are proud to do our part. Today we've decided to officially endorse Kamala Harris for president. Why Kamala? Well, we'd be here all day if I listed all the reasons, but I'll name a few. To begin with, she shot straight to the top because of her intellect. Smart lady. She's the first person in history to win a primary without receiving a single vote. That's impressive. She's a person of color. Indian, I think. She's a phenomenon. She gave Drew Barrymore a hug, an act that symbolized her willingness to wrap her arms around the country and give us all a hug whenever Republicans make us feel sad. She was such a popular vice president that over 12 million people hiked hundreds of miles to cross our southern border to vote for her without ID in this election. She has a melodic and soothing voice, especially when she laughs. I can listen to her laugh for hours. Most importantly, though, she is not Donald Trump. Wow. How can you put into words the greatness that is Kamala Harris? She reminds us to look forward to what can be, unburdened by what has been. And she understands, perhaps better than anyone else, the significance of the passage of time. She knows, as all wise leaders do, that there is great significance to the passage of time. Each minute that passes takes us from the present into the future. We're only here, right now, in this moment, because other moments, like the one that just went by, have passed. What could be more significant than that? We are grateful that when America is on the brink of losing its democracy, the person standing strong against the looming threat of fascism is a woman as accomplished, intelligent, joyful, and non-white as Kamala Harris. And so we join Eminem, Megan Thee Stallion, the Insane Clown Posse, and many other great thought leaders by proudly endorsing Kamala Harris for president.
Love that guy. Love his well-manicured beard and mustache. He does a very good job of keeping himself very clean. Next story over at Twitchy. You know what? Let's go and do this one first. Mark Elias, who is, for those who aren't familiar, Mark Elias is the king of leftist lawfare. He's an old Clinton lawyer, an old Obama lawyer. Now he is one of Kamala's campaign attorneys, and he is scum. He will be the key. If they're able to somehow pull off the steal this time around, he will be smack dab in the middle of it. According to Twitchy, Brett T over there, Mark Elias celebrates that Nevada will count non-postmarked ballots 3 days after Election Day. And if you're not familiar with it, that is obviously ludicrous. They don't even need to be postmarked. It's the stupidest thing. But again, shocker, again, it's happening in a swing state. Crazy stuff. I'm not going to read it. We're just going to get that one posted. But we are going to make sure to highlight that Mark Elias, who is Crooked Hillary and Comrade Harris's lawfare specialist. Get that posted over. We'll put that in column 2. That's a column 2 story. It is important. I know all about it. You probably know all about it, but there's other people that need to know about it. So we will get them, make them aware. I do actually. It's funny because not funny. It's. I'm gonna have to play another video real quick because I forgot. One of the things we do, I like to try to keep at least some uniformity with the breaks as far as putting images at the top of the columns, right? So let's go to thelibertydaily.com right now, and you will see that at the top of the columns we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We don't count that one because that's an ad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got enough stories that we need to go ahead and start moving some of these down with images because I like to break it up. You'll notice we have image. There's Seth Dillon, as a matter of fact. Image, and then an image, and you get the idea. So we try to make sure that we have that break. It just makes it easier to flow, makes it easier to read, and hopefully makes the site look more appealing. So I'm going to play. Let's see. I'm going to play this video. This is was it Fox News? I think it might have been Fox News. But they're talking about the important takeaway from what you're about to read or hear is that apparently Nikki Haley, neocon Nikki, is she is all concerned about the Tony the comedian talking about Puerto Rico being garbage and making a fuss about it. But there's more to it than that. Watch.
She didn't think it was helpful. Sean Hannity sat down with the former president, airs tonight at 9 p.m., and addressed this fully in the interview. Here's a piece of it.
They put a comedian in, which everybody does. You throw comedians in. You don't vet them and go crazy. It's nobody's fault. But somebody said some bad things. Now, what they've done is taken somebody that has nothing to do with the party, has nothing to do with us, said something, and they try and make a big deal. But I don't know who it is. I don't even know who put him in. And I can't imagine it's a big deal. I've done more for Puerto Rico than any president.
Josh, what do you think of that and what you heard from Nikki Haley earlier?
Yeah, look, I have enormous respect for Nikki Haley. I think she's probably one of the most gifted communicators in the Republican Party. I just simply disagree with concern over this. I mean, I think it's kind of a cynical look at Puerto Rican voters when you consider they could have concerns about prices, the cost of housing, what the chaos that open border policy has had on their communities, crime, everything else. And at the end of it, some roast comedian says something offensive and they're like, no, I'm going to go vote for the person who's responsible for all of the above. I just don't see that happening. I also think when you make mountains out of molehills at the end of a campaign, it reflects a deeper uncertainty about your standing. And the Kamala Harris campaign has put an enormous amount of effort into trying to make this the lasting issue in this campaign, and it's just not going to be with an economy where it is, open borders and all the rest.
You know, a number of big business people have been weighing in. Interestingly, late in this campaign, Megan, here's Blackstone CEO Steve Schwarzman.
I think the advantage, I don't know who's going to win the presidency, it's beyond me, but I think he has a much better base of knowledge of how that job works and how to be efficient and effective at doing it than certainly compared to 2016.
Well, I thought that would be enough time. I'm almost done. Give me a second. Almost done. We're going to get the front page looking square and neatly organized because that's how we like to do it. Almost there. One more and done. All right, now when I refresh the page, all of a sudden you'll see that the top section is smaller. That leaves room for us to be able to filter in. Oop, you're not seeing it yet. There we go. Now you see it. Top section, this section up here, smaller, leaves me room to start adding more stories to there. I moved one of them down. Oops, and we missed one. How did we miss one? Hold on. I got one wrong. Hold on. There it is. 2244. The idea is we do it in batches of 7. I know that sounds kind of odd, but it works. Visually speaking, it works properly. So when I refresh it now, you will see I moved a few of the 3 of the stories down from the top section. Plus, actually, technically, I moved 5, but then also one of the headline stories. We moved that one down as well, and then we went ahead and added some that were on the top that were older. That many of them were 4, 5, 6 hours old. Maybe not that old, but they were older, and so we moved them down there as well. And that's how we do it. It's all manual, folks. All manual. And I wouldn't have it any other way. We've had people that have offered us tools. I've had developers say, hey, we could feed this, and we could move that, and we can automate this. Look, you're getting to see, the whole purpose of the show is so that you can see how and why. How do we find the stories? How do we select the stories? Where do we put the stories? And, and why do we do it manually? Because it needs to be done manually. Because we don't need automation to determine whether or not a story is important. We can't have automation do that. I don't care how good AI ever gets. It's not going to have the intuition that we have. Just like that Daniel Penny case. The Daniel Penny story is technically, it's a week old now. He's been on trial since Monday. No, it's not a week. It's a couple days. Whatever, man. It's election time. It's not that old, but it is old enough to where it probably shouldn't go on top under normal circumstances. But after reading that article, determining that it did hit the right notes, that's when we made the decision. And AI probably wouldn't have come up to that conclusion, nor would any feed or any other technology that they try to give us to make it easier on us. I don't want that. I don't want this to be easy. I want to work at it. I want to try to hand select every individual story that we put up on the libertydaily.com and mentally determine with our human brains which stories are important, which are less important, which ones do we need to highlight. It's funny because for years, for a long time, Matthew, the owner of the Liberty Daily, he tried to hire people. He couldn't find the right people. And I'm not trying to say, oh, I'm special because he hired me. Maybe that's true, but the point is that now that I'm running the site, it is extremely hard to find people with number one, they have to have the discernment to be able to determine, this is good, that's not good, this is a good opinion, this is not a good opinion. Number two, you need somebody who has the perseverance to sit through, because we cover this 24/7, okay? So you've got people, when their shift comes on, they have to be able to read through the site, determine what's already on there, memorize what's already on there. So you have to have a certain level of mental acuity. So no, Joe Biden nor Kamala Harris, even if they had the right ideology, they would never be able to do this because they just don't have the mental acuity to be able to handle reading through and discerning anywhere from 1,500 to 2,500 stories a day and picking out the most important ones that you want to publish. It's just not in their skill set. Maybe they should work a couple of shifts at McDonald's instead. They still wouldn't do as well as Trump. But you get the idea. So yeah, it is a process. And like I said, I'm going to try to do this. We'll do it as long as it's popular. Look, you guys might come into chat or go into whatever, send me to jdrucker.com/talk. We're going to Twitter, x.com/jdrucker. I've opened DMs there. You might come back and say, hey, you know what? No, it's a boring show. We don't want to, nobody cares about how you do it. Just you do your job. Nobody wants to see this. Who knows? Maybe that's what you'll do. Or maybe you'll go on there right now if you're watching and you'll push the thumbs up button. You'll push the subscribe button if you haven't already. You'll leave me a live chat or a comment or something. You'll alert me that the people are listening somewhere, some way, somehow. If you are on X listening, let's see. Let's take a look to see if anybody's listening on X. Sorry. Just checking. There we go. I used to have a very strong X account. I really did, believe it or not. I was at one point back in like 2009, I was like the 215th person to ever break 100,000 followers on X. Again, we're talking 2009, I think. It might have been earlier than that. But it was a long time ago, and I was really into it. I was so focused, so proud, so addicted to Twitter back then. And then I just stopped. And it's funny because I actually have today, 15 years later, I think I actually have fewer followers today after 15 years than I did back in 2009. Crazy stuff. True story, though. True story. So let's get into a few more stories. Do we have to take a break? We blew right past our break. But so be it. That's the beauty of being the owner of the show, being the producer of the show, and being the on-air talent. So according to War Room, so glad that Steve Bannon's out, by the way. Having the Honey Badger back in the fight is perfect. He's coming around at the right moment. We also have another person joining the fray. Naomi Wolf, once a progressive icon, endorses Trump as the unity candidate for America. And this isn't shocking. I know that she worked for Clinton. I know that she's been a Democrat her whole life, but she has been showing signs of becoming a freedom-loving American for quite a while now, really since the pandemic. And kudos to her for making the switch. Naomi Wolf, a former progressive figurehead, has made waves with a bold endorsement of Donald Trump for 2024, repeating her endorsement to Steve Bannon on Tuesday's War Room program, citing his emerging role as a unity candidate. Her shift stems from personal experiences, disenchantment with the establishment, and Trump's broadened appeal across political and cultural lines. According to this Wolf's journey from left to Trump, Naomi Wolf's evolution from left-wing activist to Trump endorser marks a striking shift. Once known for her role in the feminist and progressive movement, Wolf now argues that Trump has transformed into a candidate who speaks for everyone. You've become the unity party, she told Steve Bannon in a candid conversation. For Wolf, this isn't about just politics, but about a greater purpose. She sees Trump as bringing together diverse groups across racial, cultural, and political divides, a stark departure from her former stance. So yes, we are going to publish that one for sure. That's a good one. I'm going to go and put it up. We're going to put it up top, not in the headline section, but we're going to put it up in the top section because, number one, I love War Room. But number two, because I think people need to know. She represents what I believe to be a growing plurality of non-radical left. Look, the radical leftists, those that suffer from Trump derangement syndrome, those that are super ultra woke, they have pronouns, they're probably still wearing face masks. Nothing. No, I don't care if it was Trump versus literal reincarnated Hitler, they would vote for Hitler over Trump. Wolf represents the lucid, the thinking the non-brainwashed version of the old Democrat Party. And there are many of them out there. It's probably not nearly as many as there should be. Unfortunately, many Democrats, most Democrats, have surged, lurched to the left as much as possible. It's weird because it doesn't make any sense. The same people that seem to be relatively common sense Americans just a decade or two ago are all of a sudden so radical, so woke, that they don't even know. They don't even realize how much damage they're doing to themselves, to their children, to their families, to their communities, and to their nation. They're just brainwashed. They're just completely indoctrinated into this quote-unquote progressive mentality. Well, people like Wolf, Naomi Wolf, I believe they're a growing plurality of we'll call them the mainline Democrats. I don't even know what you want to call them. But basically the ones that are, for example, they're pro-choice, pro-abortion, but they're pro-abortion to an extent. Like they're not like, oh yeah, abortion all the way until birth or beyond. They're all more like, yeah, you know what, abortion up until X period of time. Okay, a quote-unquote common sense perspective on abortion. Now, I myself am an extremist when it comes to abortion. I am an absolutist. Okay, I want abortion abolished, but I'm not gonna go against against Trump or the MAGA movement, which with a majority in the MAGA movement now currently embracing Trump's federalist stance. Leave it up to the states. Okay, it's fine. I'll take it. Okay, that means we just have to fight harder, but let's do that. Let's fight. It's a fight that I've been wanting to have for a long time anyway. Now that Roe v. Wade is out of the way, we should be fighting. Did you know there's more abortions now than there were before Roe v. Wade was overturned because of the abortion pill? It's disgusting. We do have that fight, but we'll talk about that after the election. Focusing on Naomi Wolf, though, and what she represents. She is, again, I would say she represents the plurality. We'll say 30%, between 20 and 30% of the Democrat Party is still have their cognitive abilities. They're not completely brainwashed. And of those, there are those that are going to still be fully on board with Kamala. I would say a majority. No, not a majority, a large chunk. And then there's going to be those that are questioning. They're not sure one way or the other. And there's going to be people like Naomi Wolf, and I believe that she's, of that 20 to 30% of Democrats, I believe that she represents a plurality of them that would at least consider voting for Trump. They aren't completely deranged. And this is why you're seeing many, especially minorities, especially Black and Hispanic voters out there right now that are saying, you know what, I voted Democrat my whole life, I'm voting for Trump. I think that Wolf represents that type of person who has always been a Democrat, but realizes that, very similar to what happened with Reagan, very similar to what happened with Trump, the party that they grew up with has left them, has lurched to the left. And as a result, they are forced to make a choice. And the choice is pretty clear. I mean, the Overton window, when it comes to common sense, it's definitely in the process of shifting as we speak. Let's see. Should we cover that one? Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's just cover them all. Oh, no, wait. I forgot. I have to take a break. Quick break. I think this one, this one is not, no, this is a 1 minute one. Here's a 1 minute break. My good friend Mike Lindell has a message for you, and I'll be right back in 61 seconds.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving us with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss. I'm going to make it your gain. For the first time ever, you get standard classic MyPillows for wholesale prices, only $14.88. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, I'm going to offer my entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Upgrade to a queen size MyPillow for just $18.88. King size only $1 more. Get my body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on the screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever on TV, including my standard size MyPillow, only $14.88. They've never been offered this low before. We have limited quantities at this price, so limit's going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Son of a gun, I wasn't paying attention. I forgot. I was 60. I said 61 seconds. I was about 64 seconds. My apologies. Next story, though, is one that, not much of a story, but we're almost certainly going to post it because it does play to the narrative that we want to promote, which is that they are crazy. They being the Democrats who think that there's a whole bunch of, that the insult by Tony the comedian regarding Puerto Rico being floating island of garbage, that's going to make a huge difference in the election. It's not even amongst Puerto Ricans, I would imagine, because it was a joke that's not from a guy that Trump doesn't even know. Again, they're going to say, oh, but Joe Biden is Joe Biden, and when he called half the country garbage, or they might just agree with him. Maybe they actually do think that we are garbage, just to be clear. Joe's just the only one bold enough or demented enough to say that. According to this article by Misty Severi over at justthenews.com, Puerto Rico's shadow senator endorses Trump amid MSG rally backlash. One of Puerto Rico's two shadow senators on Tuesday endorsed former President Donald Trump despite backlash. The former president has received over a comment a comedian made about the island at one of his rallies this weekend. The endorsement comes from comes after Puerto Rico's largest newspaper endorsed Kamala Harris, because of course they did, because of insult that comedian Tony Hinchcliffe's joke that the U.S. territory is a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean. Trump's campaign has distanced itself from, and the former president from the joke, stating that it does not reflect the views of President Trump or the campaign. Shadow Senator Zoraida Bujo on Tuesday stood by the former president at one of his rallies in Allentown, Pennsylvania. She did not reference Hinchcliffe by name, but referred to the joke in a speech. We won't get rattled. We won't yield to ignorance or foolishness. We will remain focused on what is very important. We all share a desire for change for the good. We Hispanics are part of the soul of this country. We've made a difference, and we will make a difference in this coming election to bring about much needed change. The senator slammed the Biden-Harris regime over its perceived failure on critical policies like border security, the economy, and law enforcement. Those are the three big issues. And on today's show, earlier today, I covered the economy. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about border security. And yes, we're going to be talking about crime, law enforcement, and possibly even terrorism, because that's something that doesn't get talked about nearly enough. And it pertains to the economy, it pertains to border security, and it pertains to law enforcement all at once. I do think there's going to be a terrorist attack. Let me just take a brief aside. I do think there's going to be another terrorist attack, maybe not to the degree or the scale of 9/11, but I think that they have something planned. And for all I know, it could be something bigger than 9/11. But when you have open borders, when you have known people, I guess you could say members of the terror watch list, and they're coming over in bulk. Keep in mind, what was it, 19 terrorists involved? You could say, oh, but it was Mossad, it was Saudi Arabia, it was the U.S. government. I'm not going to get into 9/11 conspiracy theories, which I do think that it was an inside job, but whatever. 9/11 wasn't it? Anyway, but it took 19 of them, hijackers. We've had probably 19,000, and that might be a very low estimate as far as people who may very well be terrorists who've just been allowed to come over. I mean, here, go to your asylum hearing, Mr. Whatever, from wherever your asylum hearing is scheduled for 2032. In the meantime, go do what you need to do. Here's your gift card, your debit card, prepaid debit card. Here's an iPhone. What city do you want to go to? We'll get you there. If there is a terrorist attack at any point in the near future, I would argue that both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, as well as Merrick Garland, we could go up and down the list, Alejandro Mayorkas for sure. There's so many people in this regime that should be investigated and possibly charged and arrested and tried and convicted for aiding and abetting terrorists, because they know what they're doing. It's crystal clear. They're letting terrorists in. Why is that? What do they have planned? Are they more deeply involved than anybody else is willing to say out loud? I would argue that yes, they are. I would definitely make that argument that they have something cooked up. I don't know if it's going to happen next month, next year, next decade. I don't know. And maybe they're just going to wait until the proper moment. But I can't imagine that in a post 9/11 world that we would willingly allow people who are very possibly, I would say in many cases, extraordinarily likely terrorists, and let them roam about the country freely. But that's happening. Why is that happening? How could that be happening? And this is one of those situations where I have no ego when it comes to predictions. I truly, legitimately pray, please, God, let me be wrong. Let this fear be irrational. I don't want it. I don't want it to be true. I want to be wrong on this one. We'll see. One area where I'm definitely hoping that I'm right is that I am feeling the excitement. I don't know about you, but I've always been a realist. Some people would say I'm a pessimist, but I would say I'm a realist when it comes to the reality of Trump's going to win by far. He's going to win in a landslide, but they're also going to try to cheat hardcore. They're in the process of trying to cheat. So who's going to win? Is it going to be Trump, who will get the most votes, who will have the most legal votes, the most properly cast votes by legal American citizens? Or will it be Kamala Harris, who they will do everything they can in their power to try to steal it for her, for them, and them being the globalist elite cabal? Who's going to win? Now, up until probably about a week ago, I quietly, but in my heart, I felt, you know what? They're probably going to steal it. Trump's been pushing too big to rig. I don't know if we're going to get there. Well, for about a week, I'm actually starting to think, by God, we are going to get there. He really is doing it. We're doing it. This really, truly, legitimately could be too big to rig. This victory that is brewing for Trump could be real. And Kamala Harris had her opportunity today. It was blown, of course, by Joe Biden calling half of America garbage, but she did have an opportunity to speak, to make her closing argument, and it went about as well as one might think. Rebecca Downs over at townhall.com says Kamala Harris's closing argument speech went exactly as you'd expect. On Tuesday night, Vice President Kamala Harris gave her closing argument speech at the Ellipse in Washington, D.C., with the White House in the background. Although President Biden was watching the speech, he alerted reporters earlier in the day that he would not be there in person and would not preview any of the speech. The speech that Harris gave was very much more of the same of what we've heard before, because that's what she does. She repeats herself more than any other candidate we've ever seen in history. She's worse than Marco Rubio was during the 2016 primaries. Okay? I mean, he would repeat himself often, and that was weird. And she's far worse than he is, including with how she went after former and potential future President Donald Trump. Harris mentioned Trump's name over a dozen times in her speech, which was approximately half an hour long. You know, Trump goes off script, and he can talk for 3 hours with nothing, with no prep. Okay? Kamala Harris has her closing argument, and she goes for about half an hour. And it was completely and totally memorized, probably with teleprompters and everything. Back to the article. The opening moments of Harris's speech mentioned Trump, in fact, after telling the crowd that this election is more than just a choice between two parties and two different parties. Okay? It is a choice about whether we have a country rooted in freedom for every American or ruled by chaos and division. Every American who's not white, straight, or male, of course, is what she was actually trying to say. In something of an amusing moment, which the Trump campaign quickly picked up on, sirens could be heard in the background as Harris claimed, "Tonight I will speak to everyone about the choice and the stakes in this election." I want to play, but I'm not going to. I have a hard time playing anything that Kamala. You'll notice if you look at the Liberty Daily's videos, there was a time we used to play her very often, you know, because she would just come out with these idiotic things, word salads, just totally ignorant. You know, then there's the 32, you know, 32 days, 32, and it's just 32. When her teleprompter broke, you remember that? We stopped just because I just can't stand listening to her. I couldn't imagine listening to her for 4 more years. Not that she would ever do press conferences, because she doesn't do those. She doesn't actually talk to anybody, thankfully, outside. I wish she would, though. I shouldn't say thankfully. I wish she would talk more to the people, because every time she does interviews, every time she talks to anybody about anything in the public, she just looks like an idiot even more. People start to realize, wow, she really is just that dumb. Back to the article. She then claimed, "We know who Donald Trump is." Well, you betcha we do. As she rambled about one of her favorite talking points, January 6th, all while sirens could still be heard. Funny, I want to play, but I'm not going to. Harris also would go on to say that Trump supposedly has an enemies list of people he intends to prosecute, despite how he refused to go after his political opponent, Hillary Clinton, after he was elected in 2016. Because you'll be in jail. Funny moment. It's also noteworthy that it's the Biden-Harris Department of Justice that has already gone after Trump and everyday Americans who are their political enemies, including peaceful pro-lifers protesting at abortion facilities and concerned parents showing up to school board meetings, not to mention Peter Navarro, not to mention Steve Bannon, not to mention everybody from January 6th, pretty much. I mean, this is a party that somehow they're able to accentuate their cognitive dissonance to the point that they can say, they're going to put us in jail. Meanwhile, they are literally putting people in jail for dissenting against their perspective. They're trying to put Daniel Penny in jail for doing exactly what he was supposed to do. They're trying to put President Trump in jail for not actually committing any crimes at all. Put Steve Bannon in jail for 4 months for contempt of Congress. Meanwhile, when their people, like Eric Holder, commit contempt of Congress, they whine and moan because he gets called out, doesn't serve any jail time, but they still, that was just even the insinuation that he should get jail time, and all of a sudden they are apoplectic, but they still put us in jail. They don't get it. They don't, I mean, and I'm saying that for real. They don't understand. There's a disconnection up there. They don't see how their fears, their concerns about us, about Trump, they're deflecting what they're actually doing. They're saying that he's got an enemies list. They literally have an enemies list. Okay? They do. They literally have a list of people that they want to take out. And then they are in the process of taking out, putting in jail, censoring, having lawsuits filed against them. A long list of people. And one of these days I need to actually go over that, because I would argue that people like Rudy Giuliani, people like Jim Hoft, people like, there's at least, just off the top of my head, I can think of probably about a dozen. And if I did my research, I could probably come up with 2 or 3 dozen. People that again, did nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong. Nothing illegal, nothing immoral, nothing wrong. And yet they're being persecuted. Why? Because they go against the regime. They do it, and they now fear that Trump's going to do it. Trump won't do it. I wish he would. I mean, I really wish that he would. I wish he would go after his political enemies. But I don't think he will. He's just too nice of a guy. It's weird because he's not known as a nice guy, but he really legitimately is. Did you know that he gave $7 million or organized the donations, including many from himself, directly? $7 million for the people of North Carolina. You don't hear about that, okay? If Kamala Harris gave $70, it would be like front page news, and she would be sainted by corporate media. Trump gives $7 million, and nobody's talking about it, including him, because that wasn't the point. He wants to help the people of North Carolina who are suffering. Let's get back to the article. This will make me happy. Let's read more of what Kamala had to say. America, this is not a candidate for president who is thinking about how to make your life better, which he actually literally is. This is someone unstable, obsessed with revenge, consumed with grievance, and out for unchecked power. Lie, 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 and lie. I mean, Donald Trump has spent a decade trying to keep the American people divided and afraid of each other. Another lie. I mean, does she not lie ever? That is who he is, lie. But America, I'm here tonight to say that is not who we are. Okay, that's true. We are not people that truly, legitimately want to be divided. We want things to be normal. We want things to be happy. We really do. We really do. But we're not divided because of the actions of Donald Trump. We're divided because of the indoctrination from corporate media about Donald Trump. We're divided because of the policies of the Biden-Harris regime. We're divided because the Department of Justice has been weaponized against patriots. We're divided because of censorship from big tech. We're divided because of their actions. Now, I'm not saying that conservatives, patriots, Christians, libertarians, whatever you want to classify yourself as. I'm not saying that we're all perfect, but we're not the ones that are trying to divide. We want to say, hey, give everybody equal opportunity, okay? Equal opportunity, equal rights. They're saying no. We need better opportunities for these people, more rights for those people, less rights for these guys, reparations for this group, loan forgiveness for these guys, whatever. I mean, they literally are dividing us with their policies. They're literally dividing us with their rhetoric through corporate media. And she has the gall to say that it's Trump who's dividing people. Joe Biden has the gall to say that we're garbage. One of my hopes is that when historians finally look back at this time, hopefully we'll be still here, number one. And number two, hopefully there will be some sanity that has returned to this nation, because we're insane. We're crazy right now. But I do hope that when they look back, that they will explain the truth. And one of the things that I think will definitely, in that scenario, definitely be attributed to this time is that this was the era of pure, unadulterated gaslighting. They want you and me and the garbage of Trump supporters. They want us to think that we're the crazy ones, that we're wrong. And again, we're not perfect. But compared to what we're going up against, we might as well be perfect, because they are perfectly wrong. I mean, she said one thing in this important speech of hers, this closing argument, one thing so far that was accurate, even closely accurate. That's what we're facing. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to read anymore. We're just going to get that. I'm just going to publish it and we'll be done with it, because that's otherwise, you know what's going to happen? I'm going to start spitting. And I do that. I actually literally do that. Sometimes I will just start spitting, and not like intentionally, like, oh, pooey. No, spitting is in like I'll start, like, saliva will literally start coming out of my mouth. It's weird and gross. When I get mad, I spit uncontrollably. It's pretty funny. Let's see. Let's call her Diversity Hire Harris. Her closing argument. Speech went exactly as you would expect. I'm going to put that up top. I'm going to put it in red, publish it, and I want people to read that. I really do, because that's an important one. All right. We have time for one more before the break. Wife of Miami Dolphins star Raheem Mostert, and I don't follow the NFL anymore ever since they went really crazy woke. I used to be a huge NFL fan, for those who don't know. I stopped around the Colin Kaepernick days. I really started shying away from them when they started revering Michael Vick, Mr. Dog Murderer. That's when it's like, wow, these guys, they really don't deserve my adoration. And so I stopped. But then Colin Kaepernick sealed the deal for me. But anyway, apparently there's a Dolphin star named Raheem Mostert. And she says that the wife of this star says a vote for Kamala is a vote for war. By itself, this wasn't that big of a story, but have you noticed that a lot of these wives are coming out in favor of Trump, or at least opposed to Kamala, or both? I thought that was weird. So we're gonna get that one posted. Faux show. I'm not gonna read it because, again, I don't care. But I do know, sometimes I'll read stories and make a determination. This coming from Breitbart, I already know that it's going to be at least a quality article from Paul Boyce over there. So no need to read it. I've got the gist, and we're going to move on, because that's what we do. I pulled up this one from Mises. Can America survive global de-dollarization? Unfortunately, it's basically a 10-minute podcast. So we're going to skip it. This is what I wanted to show you earlier. Do we have time? Yeah. Let me finish this one, and then we'll go to one final break. I mentioned earlier that J.D. Vance responded to Joe Biden calling you and me garbage. What did Trump say? Well, apparently, according to my good friend Todd Starnes over at toddstarnes.com, says Trump asks Jesus to forgive Joe Biden over garbage smear. President Donald Trump asked the Lord to forgive Joe Biden after he called Trump supporters garbage. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters, Trump supporters, Biden said during a call Tuesday night with Latino supporters of Vice President Kamala Harris. Trump responded during a massive rally for supporters in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Remember Hillary? This is a quote from Trump. Remember Hillary? She said deplorables and then said irredeemable, right? But she said deplorable. That didn't work out. Garbage, I think, is worse. And he's quote garbage. When he's saying that Joe Biden calling us garbage, I think is worse. But he doesn't know you have. But he doesn't know you have to please forgive him. Please forgive him. He not knoweth what he said. Oh, that might be the most perfect Trump attempt at a Bible verse I've ever seen, or at least paraphrasing. Obviously, that's Jesus. He's paraphrasing, quoting incorrectly, but at least he was trying to quote the King James version. Gotta love him. And I'm convinced, as Trump's again, I am convinced he likes me more than he likes Kamala. He does. I mean, I will say it. Joe Biden, he voted the other day, right? It might have been yesterday. He voted. I swear he probably voted for Trump. He probably did. Okay? He probably voted for Trump. Joe Biden hates Kamala Harris. And I would say if he wasn't so demented, I would say that even the garbage quip was designed to steal thunder from her closing argument. It did do that, to be clear. I mean, he stole her thunder. He is the headline now, not her. His gaffe, as he's been known to have, that's what people are going to be talking about, not her nonsense 30-minute pre-written closing argument. So, yes, he did steal her thunder. And I would say that, he definitely does not want her to win. And a lot of people don't. Believe it or not, there's a lot of Democrats, politicians, that don't want her to win. Gavin Newsom and Gretchen Whitmer, neither of them want Kamala to win. I know that sounds crazy. I mean, she was just having drinks and stuff, talking to Gretchen 3 days ago, and caught on hot mic, yada, yada, yada. That was that weird viral moment. Talk about cringe. But in reality, Gretchen Whitmer does not want her to win, does not want Kamala Harris to win. Neither does Gavin Newsom. Both of them are in odd situations where they're going to be basically out of politics here soon, within the next 2 years. Both of them get term limited out. Neither of them have a Senate seat that they could run for. And if Kamala Harris does win, then that means that she's going to be the nominee, almost certainly, in 2028, which means that if she wins, then neither Gretchen Whitmer nor Gavin Newsom will be able to ever run for president, because it'll be 2032 by the time they get their chance to do so. And both of them will have been out of politics at that point, presumably, for at least 6 years. Now, both of them will, the way that they, I guess, have it in their mind is that maybe they'll get some high-profile cabinet positions, right? That's the idea. If she does win. But it would be a heck of a lot easier for both of them, timing-wise, if she were to, say, not win. They both get term limited out in 2 years, and then they have 2 years to mount their presidential campaign against whoever the Republicans are going to run, because Trump will also be term limited out from the presidency. So I would say that Joe Biden is not alone in hoping that she loses. But we will see now. Yeah, again, if she does win, then both Newsom and Whitmer will try for cabinet positions. And they will, that's not the ideal for them. The ideal situation is that they finish their governorships, and then they have 2 years to stay in the public eye and hopefully try to, hopefully for them, not for us, hopefully be able to start their presidential campaigns at that point. Once they're out of the governor's offices in Michigan and California, then they start running for governor, or for president, sorry. start running for the nomination. Timing's perfect. Otherwise, they're stuck hoping for a cabinet position because it's their only option other than private sector, which has never worked out for pretty much anybody. Okay, other than Trump, but he doesn't count because they can't do what Trump did. So they're going to have to hope that they get a cabinet position and hope that they don't get shafted. Not shafted, but don't get what's the word for it? They don't get they don't get Hillaried. You know, Hillary, lest we forget, she was basically out of politics completely for 4 years. And that hurt her because if it wasn't for that, had she been staying in politics, she wouldn't have had to spend so much time, money, and energy fighting Bernie Sanders during her primary in 2016. It's very possible that Bernie wouldn't even have run had she still been in politics up until the point, you know, that she was able to. Anyway, sorry, I'm babbling. It's late. It's like 11:25 here on the West Coast p.m. So yeah, you get the idea. Let's take one more quick break, and then when we get back, I will wrap it up. We've got a lightning round of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 4 more stories to go through, and I'll buzz through them quickly. So stay tuned.
In a world of uncertainty, be prepared with Silver Prepper Bars, your ultimate hedge against political instability and economic turmoil. Introducing the Silver Prepper Bar, crafted from 0.999 pure silver and proudly made in the USA. This tangible, divisible asset can come in handy even in the toughest of times. Portable, perforated, and easily tradable, the Silver Prepper Bar is your lifeline in times of crisis. When facing inflation, currency devaluation, and financial meltdown, Silver Prepper Bars provide peace of mind. Don't wait for disaster to strike. Secure your future today with the exclusive Silver Prepper Bar, the only silver bar on the market divisible into 3 different size pieces for maximum utility, all while fitting in your wallet. The smart choice for savvy investors and preppers alike. With Silver Prepper Bars, you're ready for whatever tomorrow brings. Hi folks, I'm here today to introduce you to the Prepper Bar from PrepperBar.com, the most unique precious metals product we have seen in a long time. These 62-gram bars are perforated and easily broken down into your choice of 3 different sizes to fit a multitude of needs. Whether it be from asset protection from inflation, economic turmoil, or its unique utility for barter and trade, the Prepper Bar makes a perfect gift for all the precious metal lovers out there. Exclusively made here in the USA and selling out fast. Available in both gold and silver, these slim Prepper Bars fit neatly in your wallet, and their utility enables use in any situation. As gold and silver prices continue to surge, and top economists predict upcoming shortages, now is the time to secure your precious metals in the form of Prepper Bars. Go to PrepperBar.com now and place your order before supply runs out and prices go up. All payment methods accepted. Order your Silver Prepper Bars now at PrepperBar.com. Silver Prepper Bars, ready for whatever tomorrow brings. Order now.
All right, we're putting up that story as a sub-headline under the main headline. Let's get that up there. And we'll put it in red without an image. And that will look like this. So we have the primary story about him calling, Joe Biden calling Trump supporters garbage. And then when we refresh it, you should see that now we have this sub-headline right below. Trump asks Jesus to forgive, I called him Joe Biden, to forgive Dementia Joe. There we go. To forgive Dementia Joe. We don't call him Joe Biden. That's so old school. That's when he was vice president. Now he's just Dementia Joe or Trader Joe, or as Trump likes to call him, Sleepy Joe. All right. So let's get this next story. Oop. You know what? I was doing all that. Trying to show you guys. I didn't even put up on the screen. There we go. Need a producer. There we go. So there's the adding that sub-headline right there. Trump asks Jesus to forgive Dementia Joe over garbage smear. Turning to Valuetainment. This is it's probably a good one. I'll save that one for tomorrow. I'll put it up on Liberty Daily now, but after I watch it. But I don't. Again, for those who missed it earlier, this show does go on certain radio stations, so I can't have any curse words in it. We don't mind curse words at the Liberty Daily, but I definitely don't want them here. JustTheNews.com I actually got an email from John Solomon about no, it wasn't this story. It was this story. Yeah, we'll get to that one. But this story, Chicago named country's rattiest city for the 10th straight year. And this comes from the Center Square. The Center Square, by the way, they do a very good job, I have to admit. I'm starting to see them more and more out there. They're sort of like they do their own original content, but then they allow other people to republish it. We republish some of their stuff all the time. And Headline USA republishes it. Obviously, Just the News republishes them. I've seen them over at Zero Hedge. I've seen them on the Epoch Times. They're really starting to make a name for themselves. And they do a pretty decent job. They're as close to center-right as I've seen without falling into the realm of controlled opposition. For those who don't know, most of the quote-unquote center-right publications are actually controlled opposition. The ones that are out there, they're like, oh yeah, we're mostly unbiased. We kind of lean to the right. A lot of times, those are the ones that they deny voter fraud. They deny, they hate Trump. They deny voter fraud. They promote Mike Pence and Nikki Haley and Liz Cheney and those guys. That's controlled opposition, and they claim to be center-right. These guys are center-right, but they don't. They don't promote the rhinos, the neocons, or anything like that. They just tell the story, but they pick stories that I would say their version of center-right is to pick stories, tell the news in an unbiased manner, but make sure that they pick the stories that, just by the very nature of the story itself, it helps to promote the conservative agenda. According to the article, I'm not going to read it. You get the idea. Yes, Chicago, rattiest city. Got it. And I will publish that one over at the Liberty Daily. We'll put it in column 3. But this was one that was sent to me by John Solomon, the great publisher, journalist, formerly from The Hill, formerly from everywhere. And now he does his own thing, and he's stronger for it, which seems to be that seems to be happening a lot. Glenn Beck, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, all of the refugees from Fox News, they're all much bigger than they were before. Maybe not, what's his name? Bill O'Reilly. Okay, so he's not bigger than he was before. And there's a lot of them from Fox News that aren't, but some of them, Megyn Kelly, far more powerful today than she was before. Glenn Beck has basically a media empire. Tucker Carlson building a media empire. They didn't need Fox News. And I would say that John Solomon qualifies as somebody who is, now that he's away from corporate media, he's actually stronger than he was before. According to the article from Just the News, nearly 50% of all Georgia voters have already cast their ballots. That blows my mind. I mean, we're a week away, and half of Georgia has already voted? That's crazy. I want to change that, by the way. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I want Vivek Ramaswamy's idea. It's not his idea, but he's the one that's been pushing it. You have election day, and that's it. Make it a national holiday so nobody has an excuse. Those who have legitimate excuses, such as the infirm or people that are serving overseas or whatever, sure, let them vote early, mail-in ballots, whatever. But for everybody else, go to the polls on election day, and that's it. Hand counts, none of these ballot counting machines, whatever, but we can't get there unless we take advantage of the current process. And so we have to win that in order to ever get back to the old way, which, let's face it, we're not going to get back to the old way. I just wishful thinking. According to the article, though, with just 7 days remaining until Election Day, record-breaking levels of voting continue in Georgia. 2 weeks after early voting first began, nearly half of all registered voters in the state have already cast their ballots. Almost every day has been a record breaker, according to Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger. Total rhino, probably a cheat, and don't trust him. So far, 44%, or 3.1 million, of all the state's registered voters have cast their ballots. The majority of those were through early voting, with nearly 3 million early in-person ballots submitted. Another 340,000 absentee ballots have also been requested, but only about 200,000 of those have been returned to the state. This is all according to information from the state's election data hub, which is updated periodically every day, yada, yada, yada. Just point being, 50%, that's huge, huge. Another piece from Just the News, this time comes from John Solomon himself. New Univision CEO says Hispanics no longer a Democrat bloc, but instead free agents driven by issues. And that's how it should be. Okay? That's how it should be. And I'm talking about for everybody. And there should be no Republican bloc, Democrat bloc. There should just be, you are an American citizen. Make your decision based upon who you think will best serve you, best serve the nation, best protect your family. It doesn't matter. Oh, but black people are supposed to vote Democrat, or white college educated people are supposed to vote Democrat, or whatever. You know, it's not. No, just you vote who you like. Simple. Just a month into his new job, Univision CEO Daniel Allegra has already watched his network host both major candidates for town halls and with undecided Hispanic voters, and he tells Just the News he has made one unequivocal observation about America's fastest growing electoral bloc. The world of 15 years ago, where Hispanics were essentially considered a vote for the Democrat Party, that's no longer the case. Allegra made the comment during a wide-ranging interview with the John Solomon Reports podcast, where he also laid out his vision for the world's largest Spanish-language television network. You know, the Hispanics are really becoming more and more an issues vote than a specific party vote, which, again, everybody should be an issues vote, period. He noted that the Republican Party has made very significant inroads relative to previous years in the Hispanic community. You know, the gap has always been much more Democrat-leaning, and that is significantly decreased over the last year. Good work, good stuff. Very happy about that. Almost done. No, this is the last story. Sorry. And I was wrong. It's not the last story because I'm not even going to play that one. I'm not even going to talk about that one because we've already basically covered it ad nauseum. So let me see if I've got one here. I don't know if I played this one earlier. It's been a couple hours now, but just in case, because I do want to make sure we play it, we're going to end today's show with this ad that just dropped on Tuesday. This is an ad from President Trump asking Christians, specifically, the Trump campaign is asking Christians specifically to vote. And it's already been declared, and I don't know where they got the statistics, but I think it was either 32 million or 34 million Christians who they believe aren't going to vote. That needs to change. And like I've made the case before many times, even if you don't like Trump, even if you think, oh, he's just not the right candidate, you know, he's too immoral, too this, too that, whatever. My argument is this: if you are a Christian of any sort, an evangelical specifically, then your vote should be against the evils that are going to be perpetrated against us, the evils of a Kamala Harris regime. You might not like to vote for Trump, but you definitely, if you are a legitimate, true Christian, you have to vote against Kamala Harris. You have to vote against abortion up until birth or beyond. You have to vote for the incessant push to deny God's creation when it comes to men and women, to deny the fact that if he makes a man, starts that man off as a boy, and that man grows up to be a man, that's a man. Kamala Harris doesn't see it that way. There are 1,000 issues where I could say, if you're an evangelical, if you're a Christian, if you're a Catholic, if you're whatever, if you're a conscientious person, then you have to vote against Kamala Harris, even if you don't like Donald Trump. Period. But just in case I didn't say it right, we'll end today's show with this message from the Trump campaign, a message for Christians.
Folks, it's time for another resurrection of Christian clout at the ballot box.
We tell Christians to get out and vote.
Calling all Christians this weekend.
Millions of believers across the nation will be casting their votes
for biblical values.
This is our moment to come together as the body of Christ.
And this is our opportunity to shape the future of our country.
And to stand firm in our beliefs.
I need you to make your voice heard. Early voting is underway, so you know what you have to do.
I need you to get out and vote. Rally your family, call your friends,
and let's come together in unity.
Voting isn't just the right, it's our power.
It's time to stand up and save your country.
Can we count on you?
Are you with us?
Are you with us?
Are you with us?
I need you to tell every believer to get out and vote for Donald J. Trump.